we was inseparable, man. And I'll tell you this, with everything that went on, words cannot even explain what the kids mean to me, or the aura of being big uncle. You know what I mean? All these kids are superstars.
Pacman Jones is here today with a different type of comeback story.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Pacman's here to talk about the role he's had in the life of Chris Henry Jr., who's one of the top receivers in the 2026 class, a future Ohio State Buckeye, and the son of one of Pacman's good friends who passed away too soon.
Plus, can the Ravens come back from losing to the Steelers, who doesn't really even have an identity yet on offense? From Wondery, I'm Shek Shazier.
Let me tell you what their identity is in the bye week. First place, that's what it is. I'm Dave Damashek.
And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
Shek, I know we got Pacman here today, but we got to talk about what went down in San Francisco on Sunday night.
All right, an hour away, Santa Clara to be more exact. Either way, heading into Sunday Night Football, the Cowboys were 3-1, considered one of the best teams in the NFC, a true rival for the Niners, but those Niners exposed them, scoring more points on the vaunted Dallas D than they'd allowed in their first 4 games combined.
And we're going to talk about this guy right here. This guy right here, he should have his head down after giving me the performance he had yesterday. And right here, Michael Parsons, I can't see him smiling. He's not showing any teeth, and he didn't show any teeth last night in that defense.
No
so
teeth.
listen,
Well
we got a
said.
lot to talk about, guys. My job is usually to give hope, and it's hard for me to find hope right now.
Shazier, will the Cowboys be able to rebound from this? And if they don't, which teams in the NFC actually could contend for the title besides the Niners and obviously the Eagles?
Oh, man. So when you really think about this, I think those are the 2 clear-cut front runners. But the one thing about the NFL, bearing injury, I hope nobody gets hurt. I hope everything happens well. If bearing no injury, I think it's the 49ers. But if you think about it, if something happens to either one of those teams, I can definitely see the Lions or the Seahawks sneaking in and making their way to the Super Bowl. But as of right now, I'm going to have to go with the Niners.
Yeah, I think you just covered it. It's a short list, and you identified the 2 that people aren't buzzing as much about as Super Bowl contenders. Not good teams in the NFC, but teams that can actually go all the way and reach Vegas in early to mid-February. And I think it is the Detroit Lions and Geno Seahawks. And after that, that's the end of it. There might be some other halfway decent teams. Those are the teams that have a shot of going all the way through the NFC tournament upcoming in early 2024. I do think the Niners revealed themselves to be vastly superior, and it's ironic in the QB league with our obsession about getting that guy, the high pedigree guy, to lead the offense and carry the day, that Brock Purdy, I think we're confused about making sense of Brock Purdy. He's a stud, but he is being a stud in that particular offense. I don't think if you took Brock Purdy and put him on, let's say, the Detroit Lions offense or the Pittsburgh Steelers offense and put that quarterback over there in San Francisco, I think San Francisco would win that trade. But specific to what Kyle Shanahan wants to do, I don't think you could find a better human being walking the planet Earth right now than Brock Purdy. How say you?
No, I think Brock Purdy's playing great football right now, and to me, I just don't think we should undermine that. I don't think that a lot of quarterbacks can go in there and do exactly what Brock Purdy's doing, because what Brock Purdy did is he won 10 straight games in the NFL. It's hard to win one game in the NFL, and he's won 10. Obviously, he has all the weapons around him. He has everything that you want around him to be a superstar in this league. But the biggest thing that he does extremely well is he understands what type of game it's going to be. He understands the mistakes that he can and cannot make. And the one thing that he does a really good job of is not making the mistakes in the big moments of the game. So he controls the ball, he handles the ball, but he'll throw a dime in there now or two to make sure that everybody knows that he's still a significant quarterback. But to me, I I don't want to forget that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield are playing good ball too right now, and I think that's something that we should constantly just pay attention to, because the difference with the Buccaneers is that their defense is still really good, and I think that's something that people fail to realize, is that with all the weapons that they have over there, I think their defense can keep them in a lot of games. But when it comes to Brock Purdy, if you put him on the Steelers, if you put him on the Lions, who said I don't know what type of quarterback he will be, but I just know that Kyle Shanahan, the way he sets up play calling, the way that he has you on your heels every single play. You don't know if they're going to run the ball, if they're going to pass the ball. You don't know who's going to run the ball and who's going to pass the ball. So I think that's one thing that makes it very easy for Brock when it comes to playing quarterback. While with other teams, you know exactly when they're running it, you know exactly when they're passing it, you know exactly who the ball is going to. And I think that's one thing that makes Brock Purdy's job a little bit
listen,
easier.
It's okay the bottom line is it's okay to give both guys credit. They are both in a great situation. The roster is nice. The offensive weapons are nice for both guys, Shanahan and Brock Purdy. And it's a beautiful marriage, at least to this point in the season. The question is, on the other side of things, the Cowboys lose that one. They had a vibe of a team that was able to dominate you defensively, some nice pieces with Dak and beyond on that offense. When you get the proverbial punch in the mouth to the degree that the Niners just delivered, how do you rebound from that? How do you sort of gather yourself in the Cowboys locker room and consider yourself a worthy competitor when you just got not beaten, you got beaten up by your arch rival Niners?
So when it comes to this type of situation, I know Michael Parsons, he recently came out and said, hey, laugh now, cry later. Everybody handles situations a little bit different. Michael Parsons might be one of those type of guys. He needs to talk it up to make himself feel more confident and get back in there. Some guys, you just, hey, get back to work, and we see what we did wrong. We got to fix these mistakes. And then you start holding everybody in practice and more accountable, because it's one thing when everybody in the world tell you you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but then you get punched in the mouth, and then now you have to reevaluate yourself and see what type of team you are. Or then it's another side of it is, hey, you keep talking it up, but you just have to back up that performance. To me, I was one of those type of guys. I wasn't a big talker. I didn't talk a lot. So if I got beat, I got punched in my mouth. If I won by 100 points or if I lost by 1, I just always looked at the film and was like, hey, what do we got to get better at? Because that's how you're going to continue to improve. But everybody has different strokes for how they handle situations. When with Deion and with him getting beat, the first thing he said is, hey, get me now, because in a year or two from now, it's going to be too late. And it's kind of the same situation with Michael Parsons. He's like, hey, you got me now, but when we're in the playoffs, it might be too late. Our team is going to be better. We're still young. We're still growing. So I think in those type of situations.
But do you buy that, Shazier? I don't think the Cowboys can make that sort of evolution over the course of the next 2.5 months. Maybe by 2024. I don't see it happening over the course of the remainder of this regular season and into the playoffs, given the evidence that we have over the last 2 seasons of Niners Cowboys head to head.
So the one thing that a lot of people fail to realize is that you can still make your team tough throughout the season. And some teams are just not tough as it is, but you can make them tough throughout the season. Mike McCarthy's going to have to go into practice and go into the meetings and evaluate and show his team every single time that they got out tough, every single time their best player got beat up or got outplayed or didn't perform at the level that they want to perform. And then you go back out there, put pads on in practice, and you want those guys to play at the level that you want them to play in the game. When we had bad games with the Steelers, that's the first thing that Coach Tomlin would do. He will make sure that we'll go out there, tackle more, and make sure we have a harder practice. So then the next week we go against a team, you will see that toughness kind of come out when we play them. Obviously this week, the last 2 weeks, we gave up 100 yards rushing. Obviously, everybody gives up 100 yards rushing versus the Ravens. But you've seen that the team was a little bit tougher this week than they were when we played the Houston Texans. And that's the type of approach that Dallas is going to have to take. They're going to have to be a little bit tougher each and every week if they want to come back and play against the Eagles, if they want to come back and play against the 49ers, who are playing a very tough brand of football, but they also have a lot of flashiness on the outside. But in the front seven, those two teams have the best front sevens in all of ball right now. And if Dallas want anything to play with it, they're going to have to be able to do that.
Well, let's shift gears then now to the main event of this episode, a guy who is familiar with rivalries and bullies and biggest, toughest guy on the block, Pacman Jones, a guy with whom you're familiar with a new story, a new chapter in his life. Can't wait to get to that. Stay tuned for Pacman Jones on Don't Call It a Comeback right after this break.
Don't call it a comeback.
All right, 5-0. It starts in Morgantown, West Virginia, where Chris Henry Sr. and Adam Pacman Jones were teammates on the Mountaineers football team. The duo's lives ran parallel inside and outside of football, and they've continued to impact each other even after Chris's untimely death in 2009. Both players were taken in the '05 NFL draft. Pacman went 6th overall to Tennessee. Chris went in the 3rd round to Cincinnati.
Chris Henry's come onto the field. There he is, making the catch. At the Pittsburgh 46. Gabbert from the gun. Here come the Bengals. Gabbert able to just get it off. It's picked off. Off the deflection, Adam Jones crosses the 40. 13 yards on the return. Big play for the Cincinnati defense.
Both players created plenty of highlights on the field, but both also struggled to stay out of trouble off of it. Henry was arrested 8 times in 4 years, and Jones was interviewed 10 times by police in his first 2 seasons in the league. Both players were even suspended by the league on the same day in '07. Chris for 8 games, Pacman for the entire year. But Chris began to make changes in his life, meeting with Bengals coaches behind the scenes to work on behaving as a professional. In December 2009, though, tragedy struck when Chris was killed in a freak automotive accident.
6 months ago, the NFL, the Bengals, and Cincinnati lost a star. 26-year-old Chris Henry died in Charlotte, North Carolina after an argument with fiancée Lainey Tonga. Henry was standing in the back of Tonga's pickup truck when he either fell or jumped out.
After his friend's death, Pacman stayed close with Henry's family, checking in on his fiancée and young kids as they grew up. And last year, Pacman arranged for Chris's 2 sons, Chris Jr. and DeMarcus, to move in with him in Cincy. This year, the boy's half-sister, Cini, joined the house as well. Now, Pacman and his wife, Tashana, are the legal guardians of Chris Jr. and DeMarcus, as well as their own 3 kids. So Chris Jr. is the top receiver in the class of 2026 and has now committed to Ohio State to carry on his father's legacy.
The name Chris Henry should sound familiar to Bengals fans. Now it's Chris Henry Jr. making headlines at a local high school.
At 6'3" and 180 pounds, Chris Henry Jr. resembles his late father on the field. Dee Alston is a former college teammate of the late Bengals player. He is now one of Henry Jr.'s coaches.
Sometimes I see Chris in my peripheral, and I have to take a double take because it looks exactly like, his father's.
Joining us today is a 13-year NFL vet, a former first-team All-Pro, and one of the most electric return men in NFL history. By the way, Shazier, a quick warning and reminder, he was a member of the Cincinnati Bengals. You two were on the gridiron together. Play nice is what I'm saying. Adam Pacman Jones, welcome to Don't Call It a Comeback. How are you, man?
Man, I am doing really good. Good vibes. God is good all the time. I'm happy to be here. I don't do this for everybody. I have a soft heart for my guy right here that's in this screen, which he don't even know about, because some of the things that he's been through, I've been through also. And I know how it is fighting back, not having, it's hard when you're down there on the ground and you have nothing that you can move. Like, I've had a chance 2 times to go through what he's been through. The first time was in Pittsburgh, and James Harrison hit me on the punt when I was playing with Dallas, and I was paralyzed for 14 minutes, I think. End up ending my whole season. I go back to the locker room. I finally get my feeling back, and Jerry's like, "Man, you need to hang it up." And at that time, I was like, "No way that I can really get rid of football at this time." So I ended up going to Atlanta and seeing a couple of doctors. I sat out a year, and my fuse wasn't bulging no more, so I didn't have no more tingling. So I went to play with Cincinnati, balling out. I get to the Atlanta game in Atlanta. just go up and tap a guy like very soft. Boom. This time I was paralyzed for 30 minutes. I'm like, I got to get this fixed. So I end up going through the surgery, having C3, C4 neck surgery. At that time, no one had came back from it. It was me, Peyton Manning, and I think right after mine, the running back Steve Slayton, who went to West Virginia also. He had the neck fusion and Houston. And so I was going through a whirlwind, trying to figure out who I want to have this surgery. It was a doctor in California. I can't think his name. He supposed to be the best guy, but he was getting kind of older. And I called him. I actually went out there, had a whole orientation with him, and he sent me. Said, "Man, look, I have a guy that worked up under me. That's named Dr. Gonciala. I trust him with everything I got." So I ended up going to Dr. Gonciala. And the first time I had the surgery, I didn't take it from my hip. I took it from the bone bank. And it didn't fuse. So I was going crazy. I have been out like a year and a half. My bone infused. Then I go back in there and talk to Mr. Brown. He's like, yo, you're never going to get out in the field if you're not healthy. I'm not going to put you out there because I love you. It's not going to happen. I'm like, all right, I'll just take it from my hip. So I end up, and I will say this, it's probably because I was smoking and doing tobacco at the time, because the tobacco, for some kind of reason, keep your bone from stemming together. And so Mr. Brown was like, bro, you got to stop smoking and doing tobacco. So I went through that. I took the bone from my hip, end up fusing. I end up coming back and play. Just to forward. Remember, I was telling you earlier that I had some that was deep between me and you.
Yeah.
So my last play in Cincinnati was the same game your last play was.
Really?
I had an interception. I'm getting chills right now. I had an interception off Big Ben. The next series is when you get hurt. And we was going through some stuff the other day when I'm writing a book right now. And I was like, God damn, I end my career on a fucking interception. And if I don't get the interception, you might have never went through that.
No, man, I wouldn't say all that, but man, like to me, that's crazy. Like to even think about it in that type of instant, because I didn't know that was your last game.
Yeah, that was my last snap in Cincinnati. I told my groin. I ended up having to go up to Philly to have surgery on my groin. It was hard. That all of that was hard, man. The way the game ended, because like, regardless of what people say, like, we was friends on and off the field. I know I had a lot of friends with Pittsburgh. Actually, Kieran Fox' dad pretty much adopted me, and he was with you guys, won the Super Bowl and everything, linebacker. And like, we like this. Me and AB, we talk before the game, call every week. Big 73
Ramon
from Tennessee.
Foster.
Ramon,
Yeah,
right?
Foster. Like, that was my boy. You get what I'm saying? So the outside took it a little personal than we did, but like in between the lines,
we all trying to win.
Yeah, we trying to win. Hey, bro, bring both of your chin straps. You're gonna need 2 chin straps this week. So, but it was good. I enjoyed the rival, man. It's blessed to see your story in the fight, bro. Like, it ain't too many people that can say they've been paralyzed and stack it up, 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 and just get better every day, bro. Like, I commend you. I'm a fan of yours, if you know it or not. Nothing to do with football. I'm talking about personally, man to man, because that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And when you sit in that room, because I was sitting in there, nobody around. It's a little lonely in there. There's a lot of thoughts that go in your head, and only the strong survive from that, man. So my hat is off to you, brother.
No, Pat, man. First of all, I just want to say thank you for telling me that story because I did not know this at all. So I didn't know about the two like you being paralyzed twice, and then you telling me that like you got an interception the same drive I got hurt. So it just to me, it's just like man, it's full circle. Like everything that our life, just people don't understand how the one little thing could change everything. So. But man, I appreciate that so much, man. I appreciate your words, man. I appreciate what you're doing for your family, and man. To me, I know we supposed to get going on the podcast, but like we got sidetracked a little bit. And I just want to say, man, I appreciate you, and a lot of people don't know what it feels like to have an injury in your career and then you literally can't go back. Like a lot of times, like I know you got to play for a long time, but it sucks when you don't actually get to, go back out there and actually like, oh yeah, I'm not good enough no more. When the injury kind of call it for you, man, I feel like it's a different type of pain,
Well, I think you guys are remarkable in the connection that you have, that you both made hard right turns at relatively young ages in adulthood. And Pacman, that's the entire purpose for today, this conversation. I'm glad we just had that conversation. But Shazier, let's get into what Pacman's done for his old teammate there.
Yeah, so man, for what you're doing right now is super honorable, is amazing. And I know, like you said, somebody adopted you basically, and they took you under their wing. And, you and Chris Henry have been close ever since y'all was at West Virginia. Y'all ended up playing team, being on the same team together. Man, how much did y'all keep in touch like throughout your whole NFL career,
Oh, we was with each other pretty much every Monday, Tuesday in Atlanta. Chris was in Cincinnati, which was a 6-hour drive or hour flight. I was in Nashville, which was a 2 hour drive to Atlanta. I had a crazy crib. Like, and younger on, our house was like the frat house, I would say, for all our guys that was in the league. But Doogie, man, we pushed each other to the limit. And it would be some days that he didn't want to work. And anybody tell you that, but I like to work. So if you don't want to work, I'm gonna wake your ass up every time. Like I'm one of them guys. I might take every blue moon off, but when I put on the equipment, I come out to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, me and Doogie was inseparable. I'm talking about from the day we met in college till we got drafted, till we left away, to right now. We was blue and gold when it comes to WVU. I got him tatted on me. He got me tatted on him. We actually did these tattoos right before we got drafted. So we was inseparable, man. And I'll tell you this, with everything that went on, words cannot even explain what the kids mean to me, or the aura of being big uncle. You know what I mean? All these kids are superstars. I'm talking about my whole house, bro. I got 8 kids in here. Got Sainty, oldest daughter, she's going to Ohio State. I got Junior, he's committed to Ohio State, the #1 player in his grade. Then I got Bubba, which is a 9th grader. He's the top 25 in the country in basketball. My daughter, she's a senior this year. She's the top 10 in the country. She's #1 in the state of Atlanta. She probably going to end up going to Ohio State or Florida too. My daughter Trent, she's the #1 track 100 and 200 in the state of Ohio. 8th grade, them run nationals this year. You know how the girls are. You don't want to blow them out. And my son, he's a fucking monster. He's 5 years old, but just a dog. The youngest kid get to watch everybody, and he's playing 6U football right now. He got 24 touchdowns. We're a 5U team, and we're playing up. We haven't lost a game except the first game of the season.
Hey man, what you doing to get all these kids on point like this, man? I need to give you a call after we get this podcast.
Bro, they just watching me. Like, I wake up in the morning, I fucking work. I put my head down to work. By the time they get up, I already done ran a mile or two. I got my workout in. Shit, they go to school at 6. They leave here by 6:15. By 6 o'clock, I'm pretty much done. You get what I'm saying? And so they get to see me work.
I get that you're a worker and always have been, but forgive me for saying this. Talking to you now versus my opinion of you from a distance, not having ever spoken with you directly, you and that entire Bengals team in that era kind of had a vibe to it, had a reputation to it. First of all, do you think that was deserved? Because, to hear you talk now, you do not sound like the Pacman Jones that I would have expected to talk to, years ago.
Hold on. Do not get it fucked up. Once we on the field, that's real. That's Pacman. Right now, you're getting Adam Jones.
Yeah.
Well, what goes into that Bengals reputation of that era? The Marv Lewis. There were some rugged dudes on that team. Do you think that the sort of negative reputation that team had was deserved? And do you think that your old pal Chris was sort of influenced by that reputation? Did it feed into how he operated once he got into Cincinnati?
My time here as a Bengal was different than Chris. When Chris was here, Pittsburgh was bullying Cincinnati. When I got here with Vontez Burfict, Reggie Nelson, Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap, Michael Johnson, and all these other names, we had a mentality that, because when we first got here, it was like, oh, put 2 scraps on for Pittsburgh. Like, what the fuck? And I will say this, I was a part of the culture that changed it. Like, they weren't used to winning here, and they weren't used to being dogs. And me and Vontez took it personal. Like, yo, we're going to fight y'all ass every day in practice if y'all don't goddamn come and give us what we want. And I think Vontez got a bad rep. He played hard. He played a little dirty. I shouldn't say dirty. I should say he played on the fence.
He played his style of football. He played his style of football. Yeah, but it was the game was changing. The game was changing on him.
And I tell people this all the time, bro. They paid this man all this money to play at that level. And then after you pay him, Shay, you tell him, hey, you can't play like that no more. It's a risk and a reward.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, when we played y'all, like, y'all made it tough. You know what I'm saying? Every game was tough, and especially like, that last year when you called Joey Jerry. You know what I'm saying? So y'all made it tough, and I thought it was really important. Like, every time we played y'all, those games right there were games where we felt like we had out. AFC North football is tough. All about out-toughing the other guy. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And it was just like, it was certain moments, and I could definitely tell what you're saying, Pat, because, like, it would be moments in the game that, like, we could tell, like, oh, y'all offense, we out-tough them. You know what I'm saying? But so it was like, that's when we knew we had them. And I know y'all probably felt the same way with us sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's really important that you brought that culture to the team. But the thing is about being the tough guys, you're going to get a bad rap for it.
Yeah, but we signed up for it. We knew what we signed up for. I don't think anybody lost any money on our team. Vontez lost a little bit. Of course, we're gonna lose some with fines, but, like, if you go back and look at those rivals from 2014, I wouldn't go back to 13. No, I wouldn't go to 13. 14, 15, 16, 17. Hey, that was good football, man. It was tough football, hard-nosed, and both of us was really good, bro. Like, we was 8-0.
Yeah.
Like, people forget how good we both were, and y'all come back and win the Super Bowl. Like, it wasn't like we was some slouch or nothing. Neither one of us. Like, we was the best teams when it come to AFC football. There wasn't nobody else to talk about, really. Like, yeah, y'all play good, but y'all don't want to come down and play us in the fucking cold, and we know y'all not physical than us.
The AFC North Pittsburgh and Baltimore was running it. The only thing, not Baltimore, Cincinnati. We was running it at that time in that era. The only team we constantly ran into was the dang Patriots, man. Like it was just like, hey, Tom Brady was that guy at that time. But I know we talking about this moment, but I know this is a comeback show, and I wanted to kind of get back on topic. And one thing that I really wanted to ask you about is that you had a quote. You was like, hey, you had experiences in your past and you want to make sure that your kids didn't make the same mistakes you made, right? And I know with Chris, you were super close with him and you end up adopting his kids as well. Like, what do you feel like that? How do you feel you've changed since, having your whole family together like this?
I want to say that I completely changed because that's bullshit. Like, I've always been the person who I am. I'm not changing for none of you motherfuckers. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, my temper have changed. I used to be like, hey, and now try to sit back and relax a little bit more. But like, I'm the total opposite of every one of my kids. Like, I talk shit all day and I enjoy doing it. And they're the opposite. These kids don't have to grow up nowhere near like I did, bro. They got everything in the world they need. They didn't have to grow up in the projects. They ain't got to worry about how I'm gonna do this or how I'm gonna do that. They don't got to worry about somebody getting killed from right in front of them. It's a lot of things that I had to go through that I ain't gonna say I shelter them from, but certain things that I went through, I shouldn't have to went through. You get what I'm saying? I love hard. I coach hard. I teach hard. And we cry together in this house. We laugh together in this house. But we about business. Everybody in this house know like what we on. Like, we ain't just doing this just to do it. It don't make sense just to do it. Why not be the best at what you can be?
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Well, you've talked about it in music before. You lost your father when you're 6 years old, and your grandma raises you, and now, Chris Jr. and your other 7 kids are living a different reality, like you say, than the one you did. How, first of all, let's talk about Chris as a football player, but how have those differences in your childhood versus the one you've given to Chris Jr. shaped him and you, and then talk about him as a football player, because this is a sports show and we're interested in how this prospect, well, we know Shazier is interested at least in how he projects to play in Columbus coming up here.
I'll tell you this, I'm not just saying this because it's my boy, but he's every bit of 6'7", 100,
6'7",
95, right? It was about 6'5", 6'6" and a half. He was 6'5" at the beginning of the season. He's 6'6" and a half right now. Running a 4.5, low 4.5s. He's a dog, bro, and he worked. Like, and I ain't just saying this because this is my boy. You can go pull up the film. When he ain't getting the ball, he working. He's continually working every play. He's poised. He's low key. He's the opposite of me. He pretty much don't even talk to you if he don't know you, which is not a good thing or a bad thing. But he's just like his dad, bro. Like, quiet, calm, cool. Bubba is the same way. Bubba is a little bit more funny though. Bubba, he's the one that he gonna crack some jokes. If he dunk on you, he might smack you on your butt. Chris, he scored 6 touchdowns. He just started getting moves now. Like, he's just so mentally drugged on what he want to do. And I think that's got a lot to do of everybody in this house, not just myself, of showing them what the stars at. Point at the stars. Don't settle for being the best player in the country in your class. Want to be the best player in the country, no matter what class it is. So I keep enforcing that, and I let them know, like, shit ain't easy out here. Work hard. This shit is a privilege. It's a privilege to play the game, and that's some of these kids these days. They don't understand that it is a privilege. It can be taken away at any time.
No, I tell people that all the time, and just It don't matter what they do. So it's two things I want to tell you real quick. So when you say it's a privilege, I tell people that don't even play sports. Like I talk to football teams and basketball teams, and I tell them all the time, I was like, hey man, make sure you take advantage of every opportunity. I remember I talked to Duke when Paulo Banchero was there, who's he ended up going number 1. And I remember I was talking to them and I was talking to the team, and I was like, man, I was just as good as some of y'all about to be, or even better than some of y'all about to be, and nobody ever thought that was going to be my last game. Make sure that every time you step on that court, every time you step on the field, you appreciate every single moment. And then when you look back at it, you're not mad at yourself because you said you didn't go harder. So that's one thing that I really love, and I tell people about that all the time. You can't take nothing for granted. So when you tell him don't take nothing for granted and be the best in the world, man, what was the process like for Chris committing to the Ohio State University? Because we breed receivers over there, and I know we getting another great one. So I want to hear what the process was like.
Need to breed a quarterback.
What'd you say? We need to breed a quarterback.
Well, I mean, that's all. That's not for now.
We can get anybody to throw it to him.
We got C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, hey, he better than any quarterback Indiana ever had.
Okay, you're right. Okay. That's your one. You're comparing it to Indiana? Come on.
That's where you went to school?
Please.
You have a great relationship with your wide receiver coach. Your wide receiver
coach? Yeah, Brian
Hartline.
Yeah, people, they love him.
Brian Hartline have more first-round receivers than any college coach in college football right now. So him and Man
about to have two more. He about to have two more.
Yeah, because Man it's not. He ain't trying to go and get rich. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, he already rich.
He want to get better as a player.
Yeah.
The money gonna be there. Yeah. You got to perform. The money is always gonna be there. So I think that he kicked it out with him because a lot of coaches want to talk about everything else except X's and O's. He's an X and O guy. He reminds me a lot of Shador and Shiloh with Deion because he come from over here where we at. We making sure we work. I'll put it like that. There's no days that we ain't watching no film. You gotta handle your business, man. And he treated like a pro because he know he know. And he enjoyed the process, I will say that. The same thing with Saini. Saini, she is a dog. She averaged 26 a game right now. So, yeah, she going to Ohio State too. And these kids just pushing each other. And the only thing I'm doing is keeping the fire behind their ass. Don't get complacent, And they going to have their little times and this and that. But as long as you keep working, I'm a truly believer it'll work out.
Well, I mean, it's just an awesome story, and I get cynical like anybody else does about the football is family kind of thing because that's just a cliche. But I mean, you took in your college teammate's son, and look at him now. Look at you now. It's amazing. It really is
the whole family.
Yeah. It's an amazing story and a credit to you. I'd be interested in hearing, Pacman, if there's another comeback story out there that you think we need to cover on the next episode of this show.
If I could pick one comeback story.
It can't be the Bengals this season.
Definitely wouldn't be. The Bengals they about to pick theirs up. That wouldn't be a good comeback story. What just happened, man? What just happened?
We were having such a nice time, 5-0, and now you have to do that.
No, I'm about to tell you. I'm saying what just happened in Israel. This is a comeback story. I actually had a couple, I call them family members. They're not related to me, but very close to me that was caught in the middle of it. And I've been on pin and needles all night to make sure they get back. And hopefully they don't shut down the airport. So I'm just praying for the people that's over there. Jason, Mom, Doc, I hope y'all get back safe and sound. Sad, bro. We got it so good over here, and we take a lot of things for granted. And when I seen that last night, I was in tears. Kid, kids off limits, bro. Like, and I just don't understand that side of the world. That's why I stay my ass over here with my bad attitude. But yeah, I'm just hoping they get back safe and sound. That's the biggest comeback story I got for right now.
Yeah, no, we definitely want to pray for everybody over there, man. It's really sad what's going on in that side of the world. So, man, Pat, man, we appreciate you, man, so much for being on here. Man, what you're doing is super honorable, man. We know you love them kids, and we know all of them going to end up, we're gonna hear Jones and we're gonna hear the Joneses all over sports. So I look forward to it, man. So I appreciate it.
All right, anytime y'all was in Cookies, anywhere cookie store, stop by there, get you a pack, got the pack. Smell me!
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Pacman Jones. Awesome stuff. Next up for us, USC's dynamite offense has powered them to a top 10 ranking, but will their pitiful defense hold up its end of the bargain? Time for some other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at this week. This is the Check Down. Shazier and I are going to give each other one comeback story in the news this week. 30 seconds on the clock to break it down. 5-0. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
I don't know if you heard, the Pittsburgh Steelers came back to beat the Bald Birdie 17-10 last Sunday. Baltimore came into the season with high expectations, but they haven't fully lived up to them so far. Shazier, how good is this Ravens team?
I think this Ravens team is a really good team. You have to really think about it. The NFL is hard, and that's what people fail to realize. They expect teams to go undefeated every single year like this is college football. And the Baltimore Ravens, honestly, I'm super excited that this happened. I'm a huge Steelers fan, but there was a lot of opportunities in that game that they did not capitalize on. There was a lot of drop balls. There was a lot of missed catches. There's a lot of turnovers, and the Steelers defense caused it. But I think this team is going to be all right towards the end of the season.
I don't disagree with you, and they are in first place and the only one undefeated in the division. Next question, go.
So the next one, here we go. USC beat Arizona this past weekend, but it only took a second-half comeback and 3 overtimes to get the job done. Shek, with the dangerous combo of Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley, the Trojans, are they a true playoff contender?
Well, of course, I have to crystal ball this a little bit as they are unblemished at the time of this recording in the win-loss standings, but they're obviously going to lose at some point because of the overall strength of the Pac-12. Washington or Oregon or not Colorado at this point, but Washington State and Oregon State and UCLA. These are legit good teams. Did I mention Utah? If I didn't, Utah. Someone is going to get this team that plays no defense in Southern California. That's my answer. How say you, Shazier? I do not think they're going to be among the Final Four.
Hey, Shek, I'm going to be honest, man. You get very close every time to not being as much over. So, like, I'm getting proud of you, but it's cool. But I would have to say that I don't think they're a true playoff contender. I don't think they're better than Washington. I don't think they're better than Oregon, especially with Oregon with having the coach that they have who's serious about defense. So, to me, I think this is a situation where USC, they're a really good team. They have the best player in college football, but I don't think that their defense is good enough to allow them to be a serious contender, and that's why they didn't make it last year, and that's why they're not going to make it this year.
Assuming they stumble somewhere, it better be in the regular season, then they have to still play in the Pac-12 title game, win that to even be eligible to play in the Final Four. I don't think that's going to happen. Either way, that's it for this great episode of Don't Call It a Comeback.
So make sure to follow, rate, and review the show on wherever you're listening. Check us out on YouTube from the Wondery channel and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you all next week.
Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.